Conclusion: Four-dimensional dynamics cosmology. This cosmology started by exploring the causes of light speed. Photons separated from the light source in the space expanding at the speed of light are directly affected by the expansion, so that they appear to be diffused at the speed of light to the observer. The interaction of this space and expansion gives rise to gravitational mass time. This can be understood from the viewpoint of relative motion in the expansion space, four-dimensional space. The expansion of space can be explained by the idea of increasing entropy, but it is hard to understand even if entropy increases. Rather, you can understand it as expansion of space. If you look at the substance, it will become thinner. And the space that expands and contracts coexists in the four-dimensional space. This is the essence of the four-dimensional space. There seems to be a principle that the total volume does not change. Expansion volume plus contraction volume equals 1. Backfield is an elementary particle if you think about what it is filled with. Rather, it is easier to explain if you consider it a place filled with energy. It is not energy but flowing energy, but it can be thought that the flow creates energy and creates gravity and matter. The expansion of space and the expansion of material space are different. The expansion of the universe, which is currently being called, says that the galaxy is moving away from the sky, but this is not the expansion of the space itself because the arrangement of galaxies is expanding. The expansion of the space can be observed as a phenomenon in which electromagnetic waves diffuse at the speed of light, but it is impossible to see the space itself, so there is no other way than to guess. Instead of thinking that the expansion of this space will last forever, it will eventually slow down, stop, and contract. This vague field movement creates a four-dimensional universe with no singularities. There may be non-gravitational forces, such as cohesion, or forces, such as surface tension in water, that support backfield's properties. It may also have the property that water and oil do not mix, or that the energy field and vacuum do not mix. Vague field, which fluctuates with a sine wave, expands and contracts seamlessly. This seamless fluid-like movement is an eternal universe with no singularities. Vague field has a simple and perfect medium principle. The law of inertia for motion and the absolutely invariant principle for matter and energy. If you look closely at human society, there is nothing other than this principle. Elementary particle space, current world, vague field. Einstein has extended Newtonian mechanics to relativity, but elementary particle theory has been actively studied by physicists in this era. Efforts are still underway to explore a unified theory that combines relativity and elementary particle theory. There is a singularity problem in the Big Bang theory which considers the universe to have arisen from nothing, and the logic breaks down there. Four-dimensional dynamics cosmology considered the container area of the universe. Four-dimensional refers to a three-dimensional space and a coordinate system in which the space itself is expanding or contracting. In our Newtonian mechanics, we defined the basic physical constants of light speed, gravity, mass, electromagnetic force, nuclear force, and time. I think it is. Cosmology. The speed of light at time is force is a visualization of the photons riding on the expansion of space, and the spots of the expansion speed of matter and its surroundings are distortions of space, and this was considered gravity. And the total amount of distortion of the space created by matter is mass. We also consider the change of events due to the expansion of space as time. The dynamics of this four-dimensional space-time are the subject of this cosmology. We expect the speed of light to run very fast, but this is the expansion of the universe itself, not the speed of the particles in space. I feel that the speed of light exists because we observers stay in the expanding space, not the light moving. The four-dimensional space-time expanding in the space surrounding this real universe is recognized by us as light velocity, gravity, mass, electromagnetic force, nuclear force, time. Cause of the speed of light. In a space expanding at the speed of light, photons separated from the light source are directly affected by the expansion, so they appear to be diffused at the speed of light from the observer's perspective. Looks like photons carried by the expansion of space do not need their own energy to reach the speed of light. Therefore, photons are stopped in the expansion coordinate system. Causes of gravity: the expansion of space is continuous from the inside of matter to outer space. However, the expansion speed changes inside the material. This change in speed is observed by us as gravity due to the acceleration in space. Gravity is not an intrinsic property of matter, but a force of space born from the interaction between space and matter in the expanding space. Cause of mass: it is considered that the total amount of strain in the space accelerated in all directions around the material is the mass of the material. In other words, when matter moves, space tries to maintain its form by the law of inertia. This force appears as the mass of matter. In addition, the movement of the space that tries to release the total distortion of the space is the total energy of the mass. Causes of electromagnetic force: three-dimensional particles larger than photons are left out of the expansion because they cannot ride on the spatial expansion. As a result, it is subjected to friction from space expansion. It is thought that this gives charge to electrons and protons in space. Electromagnetic force is consumed as resistance to external force, but the charge is constantly charged by the expanding frictional force of the space, so it maintains the structure of matter as stable electromagnetic force. Cause of nuclear force: nuclear force is considered to be the electromagnetic force and gravity between particles that share a field in a minute space, and is a property analyzed from the mass field theory of a minute space. I think it is. The mass field theory of a small space is the interaction between electromagnetic force and gravity generated in a closed space, and we expect that it will be analyzed by experimental physics. Cause of time: the expansion of space and the flow of time are the same. We have the illusion that changes in space and energy due to expansion are a flow of time. There is no time axis in four-dimensional space. This is a coordinate axis that indicates changes due to expansion. We have the illusion that living organisms are a time axis that constantly changes events in the four-dimensional dynamics space. Causes of substance generation: it seems that it is necessary to consider the nucleon that has no charge, but it is difficult to think that there is a nucleon that has a size based on our concept. The size and weight of the photon itself cannot be assumed, but it is expected that there is a quantum that does not have the same size and weight but tries to stay in the absolute coordinate system space. Four-dimensional space: in four-dimensional dynamics space, expansion and contraction coexist and maintain a balance. This only dynamic energy has been observed in the form of light velocity, gravity, mass, electromagnetic force, nuclear force, time, matter. Therefore, by integrating the physical formula into the four-dimensional dynamics unit system, the theory of all things is completed. Cosmology: time is force, which started from the cause of light speed, has reached 10 years and finally reached a quiet Big Bang theory with no singularity. Light speed, gravity, mass, electromagnetic force, nuclear force, time, and the cause of space expansion can be integratedly explained was. In March 2018, backfield was introduced to explain the causes of the accelerated expansion of the space. Also, in February 2019, I noticed that triboelectricity was created from the expansion of the space, and that electrons and protons were charged. Similarly, I think that nuclear force can be explained as a gravity phenomenon in a minute space. It is thought that one way of working one force originally appeared as four ways of working. Theory of all things. Chronology of cosmology. Please look at the screen. Newton's Principia, 1687, describing the mathematical principles of natural philosophy, was a breakthrough in mathematics integrating mass, momentum, and inertial forces. Faraday, 1831, discovery of electromagnetic induction, Foucault, 1850, confirmed that the speed of light in water is lower than in air, before Einstein's theory of general relativity, 1915, 1895, discovery of X-rays 1898, discovery of Curie radium 1900, Planck. There was a discovery about matter and energy, such as the quantum hypothesis. The result was summarized in Einstein's equation of E equals mc superscript 2. 1929 Hubble's observation of the galaxy retreat phenomenon rewinded back in time, and it has become the Big Bang theory that started from a single point and continues to this day. The accelerated expansion of the space was discovered and won the Nobel Prize in 2011, but the reason for this accelerated expansion cannot be explained at this time. Cosmology has entered a major turning point as satellite observation technology has improved over the last 100 years and the outer appearance of the universe has become visible. Hubble Ultra-Deep Field Image taken by the Hubble Space Telescope observation of cosmic microwave background radiation confirms the observation limit of the universe. 95% of the material composition of the entire universe is invisible, and hydrogen and helium are confirmed to be 5%. This latest information is described as a four-dimensional dynamic cosmology, grand unified field theory. Approximately 100 years after Newtonian mechanics, electromagnetism was born, 100 years later nuclear physics was born, and 100 years later Einstein expressed relativity. 100 years later, four-dimensional dynamic cosmology created a super four-dimensional space, vague field, that encompasses the universe. Here, the expansion and contraction coexist and the equilibrium swinging energy is observed as changing into various energies. It is considered that various energies do not exist in the universe, but backfield's energy has been transformed into various energies. The natural world is very simple when you organize things. When I started writing cosmology, I felt like entering a vast unknown territory. However, I noticed that there were very few known principles. As a result of organizing and reconstructing these, we were able to guide unexpectedly simple and clear results. What philosophy and religion do people create if they realize that this world is simple? As I wrote this page, I read texts about cosmology, but many converge on the spiritual world. Every intellectual act is guided into a labyrinth designed for it. This cosmology is derived from known knowledge and elimination of fiction. The universe and mankind. The speed of information transmission in the universe is the speed of light, but the speed of light is very slow at the cosmic level. The distance to the star closest to Earth is 4.2 light-years. If it takes 4.2 years for one-way optical communication, it cannot be said to be the level of everyday communication. Although the universe is large, the range of communication is within the solar system, so the large universe cannot be recognized as the same world. This is a four-dimensional space-time, which is a space-time between virtual and real images. Assuming that human civilization is 10,000 years, the light of the Yomon bonfire is only about 10,000 light-years, so it is about 10% of the galactic system. The range where you can have a sense of simultaneousness in the universe is very narrow. It has been found that water is abundant in the solar system. As we will be living on a planet at a reasonable distance as the sun evolves, I think it is not the purpose of mankind to remain an earthling. In the future, the sun will take various stages before a supernova explosion occurs. As the sun swells into a red giant, it is a civilization that moves to the habitable zone accordingly. The current space development may be the instinctive action for that. In an era where the radius of the sun expands to the Earth's orbit, it may be an environment where Neptune's satellites can live. Eventually, a civilization that could travel to other stellar systems using the energy of a supernova explosion might be possible. If there were such a civilization, humanity may have come from another stellar system and evolved to this day. After all, the ultimate purpose of evolution may not be the evolution of the body but the spread and preservation of intelligence. So the planetary environment decides how the body looks. Possibility of encountering intelligent life forms. The photo on the left shows a golden plate mounted on a Voyager for 10 terrestrial life forms calculated by the Drake equation. Is there an encounter that decrypts the message to this intelligent life? Drake equations can be answered by entering variables. Here, what happens in the universe is expressed by a logical expression. When you create a global environment by extracting necessary elements from infinite elements, is it possible to reproduce the global environment by extracting the same elements? It becomes the expression to say, this is n/=0 because the denominator is infinite. In this way, it is considered that the same environment does not exist at the same time because it is a global environment picked up from elements that exist infinitely and assembled. Also, since the behavior of the four-dimensional space is nonlinear, it is difficult to predict with a linear equation. Because Earth life has evolved in the environment of the Earth, this level of understanding allows humans to become eternal and to walk the path of ruin. Reviewing cosmology. Newtonian mechanics can explain the operation of planets in the solar system. Newton was 300 years old, so I don't think humans went into space, but scientific principles have produced results that I didn't even imagine. Einstein's greatest achievement was to interpret the principle of outer space by mathematical formulas by interpreting relative motion. In quantum mechanics, we try to explain the universe by the properties and behavior of elementary particles. In superstring theory, we try to explain the universe as quantum mechanics, which replaces the properties of various elementary particles with string vibration. In the Big Bang theory, it is said that the universe has a beginning and an end. But where did the energy to begin come from? And where did the energy disappear at the end? As you can see, things that have a beginning and an end cannot be applied to the cosmos from a human point of view. In order for a theory to have no singularity, it must be kept as it is, like the law of inertia. From Einstein's spatial physics to the era of elementary particle physics by Niels Bohr et al., there was a time when it was far too far to say physics. In addition, Forking's theory of black holes was not a physics that deepened concrete understanding of space. And multidimensional cosmology, time travel, dimensional universe, and other FS topics are not exhaustive, but they could not explain the structural principles of the great universe. I started writing as a hobby. Cosmology Time is Force. This cosmology became four-dimensional dynamics quantum field cosmology in 2019. At first, there was no concept of a quantum field, but as a result of exploring the structure of the universe, it became cosmology that described the behavior of space in a quantum field. The theory of all things was the integration of four forces, but in my cosmology it was a simplified theory that aggregated the four forces into one force. This has made it possible for anyone to recognize it as a concrete space model. I concluded that the expansion energy of space forms the cosmic principle. What is space? What fills a four-dimensional vague field? And there may be a huge space like a fluid that we cannot define, but it remains as an issue for the future. Such issues are in the field of theoretical physics and cannot be confirmed by observations or experiments, so there is no way to prove their correctness. But there is logical inconsistency without contradiction. I think cosmology can be understood by anyone. Because around us is the universe itself. Everyone can understand what you can see and touch. I also have to write it like that. We feel difficult because we are lost in the labyrinth of knowledge. This understanding is very important. Knowing this opens up great potential for the rest of your life. Escape from the labyrinth of knowledge without losing power, without being boring. In the world of love or in the world of hobby, the world of your will expands. Afterward. Cosmology. As we started describing time as force, we wondered what kind of explanation we could get when the structure of the universe was elucidated in the future. Newtonian mechanics, which formulates the nature of gravity, can be understood by anyone who has learned. You can also confirm and understand this phenomenon in real life. I think very few people can still understand Einstein's theory of relativity as a mathematical formula. I don't understand, but I've got a bit of an understanding of the gravitational effects and the mystery of time as I wrote the page. In Einstein's era, there is no concept of an expanding universe, so you can imagine how innovative the theory of relativity shown in such an era was. Expansion cosmology. Since Edwin Hubble cosmic microwave background radiation, the age of the universe is 13.8 billion years. Large-scale structure of the universe, accelerated expansion of the universe. These have been confirmed by the development of precise observation instruments. By incorporating these observations, I think we have reached a certain point of view about the causes of light speed, the causes of gravity, what is mass, what is time, and the structure of the universe that is observed as expansion. Cosmology. Time is Force started writing in 2008. At first, I was stuck in the Planck time and the majority hypothesis and could not find an exit. I created a cosmic map in January 2010 to solidify the image. In this image, we considered the speed of light as visualization of the expansion of space, July 3, 2010. In addition, I realized that the material and its surrounding space expansion acceleration is the cause of gravity, January 23, 2011. Backfield was introduced in March 2018 to explain the accelerated expansion of the space that won the 2011 Nobel Prize. Also, in February 2019, I noticed that triboelectricity was created from the expansion of the space, and that electrons and protons were charged. Similarly, I think that nuclear force can be explained as a gravity phenomenon in a minute space. It is thought that one way of working was originally seen as four ways of working. In 2020, it reached its goal as a four-dimensional dynamics cosmology, which is paradoxically that four forces are generated from a single energy by considering that the expansion energy of the universe is the only energy. It is the integration of power. And it became a universe model that considered the expansion energy to be the ultimate fluctuation energy existing in the four-dimensional dynamic space. At present, cosmology based on elementary particle theory and string theory is actively studied, but these cannot be explained by four-dimensional space-time. Even if it is mathematically beautiful and symmetrical, cosmology that anyone can understand this real world is required. The cosmos is born from absolute invariant principles and free interactions. This understanding will free us from the labyrinth of knowledge. Thank you for reading to the end. Self-introduction. I've been fascinated by natural science since childhood, and I've been looking forward to seeing new topics, especially about cosmology. As shown in the chronology of cosmology, satellite observations since 2000 have made it possible to have clear images of conventional dim images of the universe supported by observation data. I think that it was spun in a natural form from me, who had been staring at cosmology widely and shallowly. During the civil engineering era, I participated in overseas projects for about 10 years and was able to see Japan from outside. Everyone in every country wants to laugh and have fun. I am worried that modernization has spread all over the world and that the natural environment and easy living have been lost. The development of the internet is a dreamlike world where you can publish your own texts and videos you make to the world. People around the world are also watching my cosmology video, YouTube. And thank you for reading this sentence.